the report today and the incredible work that's been done by actually many voices in regard to this. So we'll kind of get together on that. Probably have some information that people might want to share in regard to the year ahead as well. So we'll try to leave some time at the end of the meeting so people can give us any updates that they would choose to do. 2026, I think, will be a great year. For those of you who are not a part of the Workforce Talent and Development Board, Venkat is now, of course, a member of this conversation with the WRC, but also he's stepping in as chair for the Workforce Talent Development Board. And Venkat's leadership is already being felt in the Workforce Talent Development Board with optimism, trying to really drive the Workforce Talent Development Board and all of your efforts on the WRC really to kind of a pinnacle. I think we're at a very interesting time in Oregon that allows us the opportunity to really leverage the great work that everybody has been doing in regard to the Workforce Readiness Committee. So thank you all for your continued work there. I know there are budgetary issues that are out there, but I think this committee in particular, we've proven that you can do great things with sometimes real limited resources, but great passion. So we'll head from there. Tom, did you want to say any comments before we get going?
No, I think you handled it very succinctly there, Charlie. So I'll just let it roll and we can get going with the meeting.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Thanks. Aaliyah, I think we've got do we have quorum?
We do have quorum.
Yeah, I thought we did as I'm looking out there. So not sure if everybody has had a chance to review the meetings, minutes from December. But Aaliyah God, you were so good. She's got it already posted up on the screen and so forth. I would like to have a motion to approve the minutes of December 3rd. Question mark? Anybody?
I move to accept the minutes from December 3rd.
All right, is that Howard?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good to see you, Howard. Thank you.
Same here.
All right. Okay. A motion to accept. Is there any discussion in regard to the minutes? Are there any objections to the minutes as they are written? Hearing none, so approved unanimously. Okay. Dispense with that business. All right. For today, the primary. Yes, Aaliyah.
I'm so sorry. Who was the second on that?
Oh, I didn't call for a second. I'm sorry. I should have called for a second. Anybody want to throw me a second?
I'm happy to second. This is Venkat.
Oh, great. Thanks, Venkat. So, all right. Thanks, Aaliyah. Sorry. So we're back to the agenda, and the primary agenda today is really walking through the report. And it was interesting. It has certainly expanded since the original concept and so forth, and the subgroup of the WRC that was kind of tasked with putting that together, I think was incredibly well represented when we did the first drafts. But then opening it up to everybody, we just got really great commentary and so forth. And I'm going to pretty much stop right there because I didn't do the hard work. I got to tell you that Eric and Sherry and Beth and Todd and Clay and Venkat, we coerced and pulled on, and Shelley, and we pulled all these things together and then opened it up into commentary and so forth and just got some tremendous pieces back. But I just wanted to first say how grateful I am, Beth, for you stepping up and saying, hey, I'll take a center point here and kind of push the process forward and so forth. Sherry, for the great foundational work that you continue to do in regard to not only OES, but the other areas as well. Venkat, it's been delightful to be able to have your touch within this process and so forth, and helping us all understand and perhaps drive the AI conversation forward and so forth. Eric, I know you did tremendous work on the continuing education processes, and Shally. So I thought what we might do today is just put the report up there. But Beth, I'd like to maybe have you kind of just walk us through generally construction and so forth, so that we can gather commentary for those that have perhaps not had a chance to kind of review that. So, is it all right if I turn it over to you?
Yeah,
Hey,
Charlie, thank
Charlie.
you. Yeah, and I'm going to lean on Sherry as well. Sherry and I were kind of going to break apart our time together with you all.
Okay.
Sherry,
And
do you want to
Todd,
jump in?
yeah, let me real quick. Todd, did you have something?
Oh, I was just going to give a little overview based on conversations I had with Sherry, but Sherry, maybe you can do that if you, or Beth. I don't know if the two of you,
No,
it
go
looks like
ahead,
I've talked
Todd.
to one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we have a little
Okay. So
plan. You're going to do a little overview, then I have a couple comments, and then we'll get into the document. And then we also have a Padlet for comments from everyone. So Beth will go over that in just a minute. So that's kind of the direction we're going. So Todd, take it away with those
okay,
overview
yeah,
comments.
I wasn't sure, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in our planning for the meeting, we just thought that it would be great for you all to know that, as Charlie said, so many people have contributed this. One of the people that was a little bit later to the party, but contributed greatly was Georgia Conrad with Oregon Workforce Partnership. I just wanted to make sure that got called out. I think you covered the rest of it, Charlie, well. Next, as we move into this, what we were thinking was just sharing that because of all that work and literally many hours spent on the report, um, that it's pretty close to being ready for prime time. And we did try our best to incorporate all the different voices in the best way we could. So I'm just flagging this because I don't think we have the time nor the inclination, or does it make much sense at this point uh, to spend a bunch of time, wordsmithing and revising. So I think first, one of the things we just want to toss out there is, if you think, based on what you read previously, that there is something that is really significant, huge, or um, you know, really important that is either there or missing, please share that. But for all intents and purposes, we think and feel like we're really close to move this forward to the 21st of this month's executive committee meeting of the WTDB to get it approved. That said, one of the other things we wanted to do today was provide an opportunity in the discussion to think about, what's next. So the typical sort of debrief: what went well, what didn't, what can we do for next year's report to improve upon it, have it be more impactful? What can we do in terms of process-wise? Those of us who are deep in this, were so excited that so many people participated and were engaged. But we also thought and felt that some of it was a little bit late to the party. So if there's a way we can think about, process-wise, how to improve that for next year's report to make sure we do the best job that we can in terms of the final product, we'd love to hear all your ideas on that. So sort of those two things. And then I just wanted to add a few more, Sherry, since we talked yesterday, and just after hearing you speak, Charlie, if we have time, I think it would be great, given what you shared about Venkat's new role. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Venkat, but I don't think it's a heavy lift. I just thought it might be good for Venkat to share a debrief of the meeting that he had with Sarah Means, who's the governor's workforce policy advisor, earlier. I guess that was just yesterday, because I think it went really well. And then I also thought, I don't mean to put you, Howard, on the spot either, but I think there's been some great conversations happening with Howard and Oregon State University in terms of connectivity to this work, and thought maybe Howard could share a little bit of that. So that's it. I'll toss it back to you, Beth.
Well, I'm going to step in because I think you're tossing back to me, Todd.
Okay, I'm tossing it back to Sherry.
Thank you. I wanted to just go just a tad deeper into some of the comments that we got back and let you know that we captured a lot of your comments and put them into a folder. So even if, let's say, a comment didn't get into the report, or felt like it was more future focused about where we go from here, I really loved, because Beth and I read all the comments that people had and tried to do our best to expand and incorporate things. But a lot of it was future thinking, and we're like, we don't want to lose that. So we captured all of it in another document. I think that's a lot of what Todd is talking about with Georgia. She had a lot of great information, also had great information about how her organization was working with all of these things, but they were things that we didn't know at the time, right? So it's not only good information, but it just shows how we are growing together. And so I just, like, I want people to know we captured your comments and we have them. Beth, do you want to throw the report up there, or is Aaliyah going to do that? We want to throw it up there. We do have one ask for the group, that at the bottom on the appendix, there were areas where we may want to link some things. I don't know if you want to go down to that to start, Beth, but I want to get that ask over with because it's our only ask. We did some linking where we thought we could, but we also felt like we weren't the experts. Like if you had a document or something you wanted to leak in there, we were like, well, maybe that wasn't what Eric was thinking about, or Shali was thinking about. Maybe it was a different document. So we didn't want to just assume that we were getting the right link. So we are going to ask people to look at those links in the appendix. If we've linked something that's not right, please fix it, because we want it to be what you want it to be, not what we were interpreting it to be. So that's the way down at the bottom, but that's a place where people can go to learn more about some of the things that are talked about in the document. So that's kind of our only ask of the team, is to help us make sure that that piece gets done. And then Beth, I think we should just go into the Padlet, and we can kind of talk our way through it, but letting them see the Padlet. And I think it's good for them to know where they're going to get an opportunity to put their information before we start digging in too much.
Yeah, Sherry. And I would just add what Sherry said, that also when you're down in the appendices section, if there's something that you think shouldn't be there or not necessary, then please feel free to go ahead and delete that out as well. All right. Okay, so what we have for you is a Padlet, and just want to make sure you all can get in. So if you want to click on that link in the chat, please let us know if you're having any trouble getting in. And then we have a few questions that we wanted to just kind of get your reflections, your feedback on, and see what resonated with you, where clarity and readiness, you're seeing some things in there around that, or if maybe there is anything that really sparked for you. So we have some questions on here. And what you will do is we want you to choose a question or two. You don't have to answer all of them, but just let us know how the report's landing with you now for this iterated version of it. And you'll click on that plus that's underneath the question. So you can see a questions going across there. Is there anybody that can't get in to the link?
And just to be clear, we're not asking you to answer in every single area. We just really wanted to make sure we did our best. And if there's an area that you feel like I don't fit into any of these, we can add something. But we just wanted to make sure there was a place if you had a wondering or a spark of a great idea. We didn't want to move on without, capturing that information.
Sherry and or Beth, would you mind reading those questions out loud for the record while members answer?
Yes, absolutely. So
Thank you.
first, yeah,
Beth,
the
why
first
don't
one.
you share it? Why don't you go ahead and share it on the screen too, so people can see it as we're doing it? Does that sound okay?
Yep. All right, you'll be able to see my screen okay? Okay, first question is, what resonated most for you? So this is around, what did you love, appreciate, or feel especially proud of in the report? The second question is, what sparked your thinking? So was there a section, an idea, or a connection you made with Oregon's workforce system, just kind of seeing kind of the bigger landscape and some different pieces that kind of played together in the report? How did that land with you or spark you? The next one is where is the report strongest? So which parts did you feel most compelling, clear, or useful for external audiences? The question after that is, was there anything unclear or hard to follow? So Todd mentioned we're not looking necessarily for some specific edits to do, but just in general, was there anything that maybe was a little bit difficult to kind of read through, kind of slowed you down a little bit, or you maybe had to reread to kind of fully understand, just knowing that multiple audiences are going to be reading the report. So we just want to see if there was any parts that kind of were hung up for you. The next one is, how ready does this report feel? So after you've read it, how confident are you that this report is ready to be shared externally? You feeling good about that? You feel like it might need a little more work? Just let us know kind of how that's landing for you. And then the last question is, looking ahead, what should the Workforce Readiness Committee focus on next year? Was there anything that you see as like our greatest opportunity that we could focus in and hone on, maybe build from, leverage? So let us know your thoughts around that after reading the report. And we'll give you a couple minutes to pick which questions that you might want to respond to.
And the Padlet is in the invitation for today. And so I did see in the chat that a few people were like, well, I haven't read it yet. So it's not like your opportunity is over at 12 o'clock. You're going to be able to go, if you go back into the invitation, you'll be able to find this Padlet. And so definitely over the next few days, writing things in there. The only things we're going to be able to consider in terms of moving the report forward are going to be those things that get in there, sooner rather than later, though. So if it's really something about the report, try to move that up and prioritize that. We'll be able to take comments probably for the next couple of weeks on things that you think we might use to move forward. Todd?
Thanks. Just a point of super practicality. Do you want to give everybody a deadline, drop dead, no more comments after this date? It might be helpful.
And so I wouldn't be the one making that decision, probably. Todd, you're probably in a better position to do that. You and Charlie have a time when you want to get it out. But I'm going to err on the side of like 1 week. Does that seem reasonable?
Oh yeah. I thought I just heard you say a couple of weeks. So I was thinking close of business, Tuesday of next week. Does that sound reasonable? Because, again, another point, logistical point, is that Aaliyah and I were planning, mostly Aaliyah, I think, on taking the document and then importing it into the HEC reporting template that we typically use for legislative reporting. Obviously, this isn't, a report that is required legislatively, but just to provide consistency and make the look and the feel of a regular, legislative report. So we need a little bit of time for that to happen in order to make it to our goal of the committee, the executive committee meeting on the 21st. That said, if we run into trouble, we can always kick it to the February executive committee meeting. I really don't want to do that since we were, our self-imposed deadline we missed for the WTDB December meeting. So I'd really love to meet that requirement and be able to bring it to the 21st. So folks on the executive committee meeting that aren't in this committee obviously need some time to be able to look through that report before they approve it. So I think that's cutting it a little close to go to next Tuesday, but willing to do that. I think we can pull it off. So thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, Todd, because I'm hearing next Tuesday, especially if it has to do with anything in the report. That's going to need to be prioritized by Tuesday. What I was indicating is that if you had a future thought about something we could do in the future, we can still entertain that at a later date. But yeah, we're wrapping up the report next Tuesday then is our time. Sarah? Sarala, I didn't say that right.
Sarla, yeah. I did glance at it quickly, just the first part, but I will be reading it in more detail. I think last time we had discussed whether we should think about putting some of the key recommendations right in the executive summary. I don't think I saw that in my quick glance, just because we were worried about the attention span of our audience. And if we wanted them to just get a quick thing about here are our key recommendations. So I'm wondering if that was considered and decided against, or I just didn't notice it.
Yeah, thanks for flagging that, Srala. I honestly don't remember. It's been a while. But you know, personally, I'm amenable to that. I don't think that's a huge lift. I don't know what Sherry and Beth and others, Charlie, your thoughts are on that. But to me, that's a pretty quick copy and paste solution if folks are amenable to that.
Yeah, we could either do it through a link or so forth, but just pull out the recommendation sections within the document itself, put it in a separate, and kind of put that through, because for me, I don't necessarily want to change the narrative that's there. What I'd like to do would be to say a quick glance over critical recommendations follows, and so that we do it, because again, allowing them to capture why they want to read and take a look at that. So.
Yeah. And I think related to that, someone had recommended that we have a separate one-pager for executive summary and then a more detailed version. I know someone else had suggested that. I mean, that would be interesting as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the way Beth and others constructed this is it's integrated here for our reading, and I think it should actually remain here also, but it could actually be copy pasted and set as a separate document that then we could potentially hand out, which would then also, again, provide people that opportunity to be able to print and distribute. So, but I think I want to reiterate what Todd is saying. I think time is of the essence at this point, and quite frankly, I'd love to shoot for the January process. And Todd and I were talking this morning. I got to figure out and make sure I can connect from Mexico, which I think I can. But I think it's important for us to get this from the executive session of the WTDB so that we can actually start distributing it. We've got partners out there that are ready to start launching, and so that's one of the exciting things here. Is I have not seen in my readings a document that is pulling together so many critical elements really into one primary strategy. And I think this is going to, I really think this is going to create waves, folks. Good waves. Get your surfboards.
Great.
Todd, a question that some might be having is who should they send their edits or their comments to if there was any final? Do you want them to go to you, Sherry and I, or loop Charlie in? How would you prefer that?
I think the first three, unless Charlie says yes, me too, makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you too, Charlie, or just the three of us?
No, doesn't need to be me. No.
Okay, great.
You can't count on me these days. I'm sorry. I'm just.
It's okay. We'll give you a get out of jail free card.
Okay. All right. Good questions. I want to come back to them as well because I've already started commenting on them off to the side here, but I wanted to make sure I kept my attention back on our screen commentary. So I'd love to be able to figure out and just talk about perhaps at one of our future meetings, Todd, how this report fits into the Talent Summit as well. So. All right.
So I wanted to ask if, for those of you who have read it, we have spent a lot of time on it. So are there any positives that you saw that you would like to share? It's always nice to hear that too.
What I'm going to start off by saying, originally we were shooting for a 2 to 3 page document, and I'm really glad that folks steamrollered right over me on that one. I felt the depth, the explanations, the cohesiveness, tying it back to strategies, charters, and the governor's prosperity program. All of those just combined, I thought, very, very well together. There's a lot of depth in this document, but what it does is it allows us, no matter what the audience, to be able to then distribute and then call attention to particular sections that might be more prevalent for some audiences versus others. But I think it's important for all of us to say that these sections lay within the construct of a larger system change here. And I think that that's those are some very critical pieces. So again, to all of the contributors who added breadth, texture, depth, thank you for the commentaries that you've added. And Beth and Sherry, it's hard going through all of that data and then kind of, figuring out where does it fit and so forth. As we all know, we could spend literally endless continuing hours on editing. I think we just have to get to that practical side of saying, how do we get this out in front of people that need to understand this? And I think Oregon's industry leaders, for one group, I think this is a very critical document.
So I'm wondering if this is a good place for Venkat to maybe give us some more perspective, and then also Howard, as Todd was suggesting earlier. So if you want to, Venkat, if you'd like to talk us through a little bit more of the things that are going on, that'd be great.
Sure, Sherry. Did you want me to talk in the context of this report or more broader in terms of the workforce board?
Well, it was Todd's ask, but if I understand right, I think it's more broader, but we're absolutely okay with hearing about the report as well. So I'd say it's an and.
Yeah, I think it's an and, Venkat. But before we go there, can I just sort of either tie this up or leave it open more? I wasn't quite clear, Sherry, if there were more things that you wanted to touch on the document you pulled up, or if you're finished with that, and then if there was anything else you wanted to say about the answering the questions. Are we good there?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get my mic off.
Oh, yeah, no, it's okay.
I didn't hear any more comments, and so I felt like maybe we should move on to stay within our time. But if people have more comments, again, one of the reasons we created the Padlet was so that people could make comments, and not just today, but throughout the next week. So I know sometimes when you come to a meeting, it's like you haven't really thought about the comment you want to make, but we don't want to not hear your comments. So please use the Padlet to give us those comments. And if you have something, we're happy to open it for you to just say it, but not hearing anyone else other than Charlie. I'm like, all right, let's get Venkat in there. So I'll pause for a moment. Was there anybody else who wanted to say something on the report? Thoughts, wonderings, concerns, future thinking, sparks, any of those kinds of things?
So maybe I can speak a little bit on the STEM side, Sherry, and then go on to the board meeting yesterday with Sarah. But most recently, I resigned as chair of the STEM Investment Council due to multiple reasons. But I did meet with the head of ODE, Dr. Williams, and I made some recommendations to her directly that I've been making at the STEM Investment Council. So I just want to share with you some of the top 5 strategies that I recommended to her, and maybe we can consider these as legislative concepts either in our report now or in the future as we plan for either the short session or the next long session. So let me share with you one slide that I shared with the STEM Investment Council. So hopefully you can see this. So, so the first one here in terms of strategies was, I call these the Mitch strategies because there are 5 of them. And so the first one is measurement and accountability, and where I was proposing that we leverage our accountability bill, which today has 8th grade math, and add 5th grade science as a statewide metric, because today it is positioned as a local metric. So schools and districts can decide what they want to do with it. And then talking about how important those assessments are, because today we have an opt-out mechanism in place, even though we are federally mandated to require 95% participation. And I was advocating for using NAEP data, not the interim and statewide assessment data. And the other problem today is our assessments, from the time the assessments are done to the time the data is available, is like months out. So we want to make sure that those assessment data is available immediately, and then finally publishing an annual STEM report card that compares Oregon to other states. And that's why these comparable assessments are crucial and should be disaggregated by district. The second thing is what our report already touches on, which is integrating these AI edtech tools for teachers and for students. And for teachers, their professional development and reducing their burden. And versus for students, you get access to a safe and Socratic tutor that encourages curiosity, critical thinking, and problem solving, and how great an equalizer this is for knowledge access. The third one was targeting our investments where our failure is deepest. So focus on the bottom few percentage of districts. And the fourth one was tying it to workforce, like career-connected learning, and having industry lead and tell us what their demands are, partnering with local workforce boards regionally and with regional STEM hubs to be the voice of skill demand and curriculum alignment to those skills. And finally, our economic and workforce development strategy has to be tied more closely together. So I was proposing having a STEM alignment impact statement for any large package that goes through the legislature. And then having a dashboard that can show how we are progressing on gap closing for supply versus demand. So those are the 5 things that I communicated. We can decide as a committee how much of these to include in the current legislative concept section of the report, or think about legislative strategies, because one area, and this is where I think I'll pivot to the board discussion with Sarah yesterday. We proposed 3 initiatives for the board. The first one was to reposition the WTDB as the unified workforce convener, just because there are so many fragmented workforce strategies across the state. There's Future Ready, there's the Prosperity Council, there's the local workforce boards. And so we want everything to be under one umbrella so we can advise the governor on data, and as well as important economic data tied to workforce development. The second part was the skills gap. And so we have a lot of very talented industry representatives on the board, and they have firsthand knowledge of what skills their sector needs, combined with data from other state agencies like OED. And we'd like to bring all that together into a supply-demand data gap closure argument that we can take to the governor's office. And the third one was what I just mentioned, is activating legislative partnerships, because we are required to have 4 seats on the board, 1 from each chamber and 1 from each party. So we already, before the holidays, I was able to talk to Senator Solman, and she's agreed to be part of the board. And now we need 3 others. So Todd is helping reach out to these legislative members, and we're going to get some input from the governor's office as well as to who to reach out to. So hopefully we'll be able to fill these seats. So that was most of the discussion with Sarah yesterday, and she was quite open to it, recognizing that statutorily we are required to do these things. And she was happy to provide some feedback on the So I have a document that talks about the what and the why, but the how needs a little bit more discussion. So I'm looking for some feedback from her. And the plan is to go provide an update at the exec meeting coming up in January. So that's all I had. Todd, if there's something else you'd like to add based on our meeting yesterday, please feel free to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Venkat. I think you covered it all nicely. I think just generally speaking, a couple things. Thank you, Venkat, as Sarah Means also said, for your leadership and stepping into the role with such a positive attitude and an inspirational way. I think it's leadership that the WTDB needs now more than ever, given the current state of our economy, current state of America and the world. It's just refreshing. So really appreciate your leadership and your good thinking on this, and for really, wanting to genuinely and authentically drive for, positive change and transformation. And at the same time, recognizing what's working well, but really wanting to lean into opportunity for improvement. So thanks so much, Venkat.
Thank you.
Venkat, I wanted to just ask real quick, in your conversation that you were having, are there any things that the governor or the governor's office is not seeing from the Workforce Talent Development Board or on Oregon's broader horizon of workforce development that came to your conversation? Venkat,
You're on mute, Venkat.
You're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry about that, Charlie. I asked her specifically what the governor would like to see the board do more of or less of. And Sarah referenced a letter that she'd sent to the board earlier, the governor sent to the board earlier. But at the same time, I feel the disconnect is currently with the Prosperity Council, right? Because today, I think there's an opportunity here because everything has now moved under Julia's leadership. So Future Ready, so after Jennifer Purcell's departure, Future Ready is also reporting into Julia. So I think there's a good opportunity for alignment across various workforce initiatives in the state. But the Prosperity Council is a separate entity, but that's focusing on three different things. So it's focusing on regulations, taxes, and economic development. So I think we can have a good say on the workforce and economic development tie-in. And to that, Sarah said that it's a Prosperity Council is a 6-month roadmap, but they are planning to have subcommittees on workforce development. And she did say that she's going to involve the board in that. So that's, I think, a positive, but we'll see. We'll see how much that holds up.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Venkat. Srila, you're on mute. Sorry. Darn mute button gets us all.
Yeah. Venkat, was there an acknowledgement of or an understanding of the reasons that Sherry talked about in her resignation?
We didn't go into that in the meeting, Sarda. I know that Sherry and Sarah and Todd had a meeting just after Sherry resigned, but I don't know what happened at that meeting or what the outcome of that meeting was.
Yeah, I can jump in a little bit, Srala and Venkat, and share. I think the final sort of exit interview with Sherry and Sarah Means was a good one, as good as could be given the circumstances. Sarah was very respectful and appreciative of the 10 years that Sherry was involved with the State Workforce Board and all the things that she did and all of the time that she gave to the efforts of the board. She understood, I can't remember exact words she used, Srala, but she very much understood the why behind why Sherry was departing, and again, was super sincere and thankful for all her work. So I think, given the circumstances, it was a little unexpected. behind the scenes, Sherry had been sharing that, she was really busy, and that she's, which I think she shared at the WTDB meeting in December, about to start, if not already started, writing her second book. So I think, a portion of this was acknowledged, this resignation, as in part because of her busy schedule. So I think much of what, if not all of what Sherry said at the meeting in December came up, was acknowledged, and I think it was a good, solid last meeting with Sherry. And I thought Sarah, again, did a great job in terms of acknowledging all the work that Sherry had done.
Okay, thanks.
Also, Sarla, I just wanted to say that I also requested that the governor's office be a more regular presence at the board meetings, and she agreed to doing that. And I also requested that the governor herself come and address the board for a few minutes on at least one meeting in a year. So she said that's possible. It just needs to be scheduled in advance. So I'll continue pushing on that. I think that would go a long way towards making the board members feel valued.
That would be great.
Yeah, and I think just to tack onto that real quick, Venkat, Sarah did underscore that, you could feel it from her, actually, through her nonverbals in the meeting, that she really wanted to do a good job of showing up at the meetings. But she also, just as a matter of reality, said, I am responsible for 50, count them, 50 boards at the state level. So it's challenging. She did say she'd, try her best, and it may mean that she's not able to, attend the full meeting, given the fact that they're, 4 hours, but that she would make, concerted in her best effort to try and be there as much as possible. So.
Okay. Well, so let me know if this question of mine is better discussed in a different forum or at a broader board level, but I would like to get a better understanding of what our avenues are going to be to really drive policy here and influence policy. So for sure, we're going to put this out, people are going to read it. Hopefully we'll get more representation. But I'd like a deeper discussion on that at some point. Yeah.
I also think that a lot of this starts with that third bullet point I mentioned, which is activating our legislative partnerships. We need some legislators on our side, on the board particularly, but also, we all have our own legislators that we can contact and have them sponsor bills that makes a dent in this report's recommendations.
And I think it also is going to take an industry voice and a strong industry voice. We have I've been working trying to engage OBI and OBC directly, and I think OBC is definitely connected to the work that we're doing, either through Kyle or Duncan, and have been supported. OBI was kind of waiting to see some development, and I think that we've seen the development now, and they are asking to be directly engaged. But they're also saying we would also like to be a convener of legislators with this initiative moving forward. And I think those are the kinds of things that will also impact that policy conversation. But the basis of that, and OBC has proven this time and again, is really developing a white paper. And to a degree, our report has developed a constructive white paper that really talks about a construct that potentially is good fodder for that conversation to impact that policy that we're looking for. So again, huge thanks to all who have contributed, because I think we've got a great basis here to utilize in that conversation. So I see Venkat's head's nodding as well, and I think we just have to have a stronger industry voice at the table.
I think it'd be good to have a little bit of a focused strategy on this, because, for example, I have a list of 3 legislators here that I've been meaning to contact, like we divide and conquer, or here are the industry groups we need to engage with, and just have like a focused strategy so that we could divide our work and go after it, right? I think that'd be useful.
Yeah. And on the STEM side, Sarla, if you already have legislators that you meet with regularly, I would just say, I mean, go ahead with some of the legislative things you're asking for on the STEM Lift project. It's all yours.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Venkat. All right. Any other questions for Venkat? All right, we had two elements, allowing Venkat some time and so forth. And my bad memory is saying, did we have something else, Todd? Sorry. You wanted
Howard.
Howard, there we go. So thank
Yeah,
you.
Howard. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Howard.
That's okay. Unforgettable. All right. What Todd asked me to talk about is kind of what's going on related to OES, the Oregon Employability Skills, and Conmingo. And there was a couple of meetings and discussions that took place before the holiday break. And this is just real briefly what we're trying to do together is see if the Oregon employability skills, which are really what I believe they're typically referred to as more like the soft skills. They've got other ways of being referenced, but to see if that could be part of what OSU, Oregon State, offers to its students, because these students, they need to additionally bone up on their soft skills. And it could be something that could also, the win-win is we do not have like quick micro creds right now that are focused on soft skills. OES answers that need. There were some restrictions in talking with my leadership here around who could access it, but the bottom line is the win for, I believe, this board and for the state is to really get some metrics on what is the consumption, who's accessing this and how much have they completed. So there's interest in that. It's still in a discussion phase. We're now back and we're going to pick this up, but that's what's going on related to OES. And then prior to the break, I had a great meeting with Todd and with Venkat, and I appreciated their time for that meeting. But we have a situation where we have students at OSU who want to pursue engineering, some aspect of engineering. And sometimes a student is identified as not having the prerequisite math skills that are needed. And we say that those students need to be what's called calc ready. They need to have those math skills that are, the foundational math skills that are needed for an engineering career. And what we talked about was the use of Conmingo. And I hope I said that right, Venkat. That I said Conmingo correctly?
Conmigo, there's no N.
Conmigo, okay. I gotta get the N out of there. All right. To see we were talking about how can Conmigo be used by OSU students who are in that bucket of needing to become calc ready, where the Conmigo tool could be used as a tutoring aid. And I even tried that tool, and I thought it was pretty impressive with how it did things. And there were some questions. There's been some conversations already about that. The biggest question that I now have answers to is, does this displace OSU curriculum? And the answer is no, it doesn't. It supplements it, it augments it. And there's even potential for faculty to benefit from access to Conmigo as well. In the short term, the focus is on how it could be used to help that student become calc ready as quickly as possible. But it can have further reach than just that. So that's what's being discussed. I'm set to re-engage with Todd, with Venkat, and a few others, and we'll take it from there. And then I guess at the end of the day, I'm going to be trying to schedule a meeting with my leadership who goes all the way up to a vice provost. And, Todd, Venkat, others who would have a relevance to the conversation, and let you guys explain it better than I explain it. And that's about it. Any questions?
I'd love to see the continuing conversation, Howard, that you are building within the institution. Would love to see that done as a multi-institution as well. I mean, putting all of the higher education together in the same conversation, and again, breaking down some of those silos so that we can present to all. And maybe that's what we try to shoot for, is to pull those that can participate together. So, Srala.
Yeah, Howard, so what you're stating right now, the lack of preparedness, has that been communicated to ODE as well? And what percentage of students you see coming from Oregon who are unprepared?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I think because that's what's going to have weight. I've had so many discussions with ODE now, and we don't know what the extent of that is, as well as the extent of science preparedness. I mean, Venkat knows that I'm really big on this physics not being considered mandatory, which is so critical for engineering careers. So I think that kind of information from universities back to our K-12 systems is critical.
Great. Venkat?
I just wanted to add to what Sarla said, Howard. I think a metric that targets unpreparedness would be nice. And so as an example, you mentioned that we have to train students in remedial math, right? Just because they're not ready for a career, an engineering track or a semiconductor track. And so how many students need remedial math, and can we drive that down to 0? That would be a great metric.
We definitely can we definitely have the count. And now I think it's the tracking, Venkat, of how far do we get it to be, that issue or the challenge eliminated for those individuals? How many are positively impacted? I agree with you. Great metric idea.
Yeah, and we have people certainly from ODE on this call, and that's been a part of this group and so forth. So if anybody has any constructive ideas on how you get that metric pushed back in through the institutions, that would also be a helpful conversation and network with Howard. So one of the beauties of having such a broad spectrum of voices here is just connecting people. So as questions come up. Right. Todd.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. This is really good. One of the things that comes to mind, Venkat, on that metric suggestion you just had is that on the WTDB strategic plan, we're into our second year here with calendar 2026, but one of the call outs on the board metrics, there's 18 of them. One of them is to establish a metrics task force. And what that will do will bring in the work that you touched on earlier, Venkat and Charlie, the May letter from the governor that went to the WTDB in terms of becoming the space and place where regular, consistent reporting on performance measures at the federal level with a few tweaks for Oregon come into to really provide better transparency and accountability for the WorkSource Oregon system. I saw Dean Craig joined. Hi, Dean. We're kind of to the end of that work that Julia Pontoni here led. And so it's time to stand up that task force. And I think that's one of the metrics that could come into the mix of the conversation to be considered. Charlie, looks like we only got 4 minutes left. I thought of one other idea. I heard some kind of exciting news. Speaking of WorkSource Oregon, Dean Craig, it made me think of a conversation I had with Sherry Clark yesterday, just to illustrate all of the good alignment and partnership, once again, that is happening because of this committee. Sherry, I just wondered if you could share a little bit about the grants that you're hunting right now in partnership with Oregon Workforce Partnership.
Yeah, looks like we don't have much time, but there are lots of really solid grants out there. Venkat, I'm going to be connecting with you next week. But there is, and you know, some of these big grants, they only give out so many, so it's not fair to be like, oh, we're going to get it. But I want to say we learn a lot in writing these grants and having the conversations. Georgia and I were talking about this particular grant that we're working on with Jim Taylor, Team Morgan Build, just a whole slew of people, Beth and I. And one of the things that's coming out of that is conversations about we're worried about our badging system. I won't go too much into that, but we lost Badger. I did get a price to maybe stand up a system that would give kids micro credentials that would not cost them anything. So that's kind of it's one of those conversations. And then we had some wonderings around getting the workforce board to do a little more work to help support what micro credentials are out there, maybe putting together a board so that, you know, it's still going to be inclusive. You know, you're going to have ODE people, some CTE people, and so forth, but you're really going to hone in on that industry, because I think that's been a problem that we've acknowledged for a while, even Tom and ACTE, you know, who's making those decisions, and maybe bringing that into more of the synergistic view rather than the siloed view. So those are some of the things that are coming out of those larger conversations that are happening as a result of some of the grants that we're all kind of looking at. And then, yeah, there's just a lot of federal grants right now, people. So but we don't have capacity unless we come together. So I just want to say, and I wanted to say it earlier, I think one of the greatest things, and I'll just say it for me personally, is this committee has caused us to come together in ways that we have not worked before, where we're starting to think about each other when we look at these larger grants and say, okay, how can we, you know, do a project where we're going to move AI and teach AI through employability skills, but at the same time have money to fund some pilots to move these math issues and things like that. So sometimes the conversation, it's like, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if that really matters to me. And then in about 10 minutes, I'm like, well, wait a minute. So I hope that other people are starting to have those thoughts in these meetings as well about, wait a minute, we can bring these things together and we will have capacity because of the work that we can do together. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for, Todd, but lots of great conversations going on and across the board. And I just love that. So thank you, all of you, for being a part of these conversations.
Yeah, and hopefully, Sherry, you can engage people in those conversations for support in regard to those grants and so forth. I just noticed on the news this morning, there was a quote unquote education infrastructure by the administration. And one of those areas was really a cooperative AI workforce development piece. So there's still talk that's occurring within that. So we haven't lost all footing. Maybe it just has to be redirected. Howard, real quick to you, and then Charlotte.
Sure. Real quick, I would say, I believe something that I'd like to suggest that would be extremely helpful to a university is, please, if you're thinking the microcreds and that we need, you know, more of them, please, the more prescriptive you are related to duration, whether they're credit bearing or non-credit bearing, that will push people in the right direction. And because otherwise you're going to have everybody doing it their own way or the way they know. Right. So anything that's prescriptive would be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We've been trying to stay consistent within that approach from education through industry. So Charlotte, did you have anything, or I saw your hand was raised? Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay, great.
It looks like Maggie has something.
Oh, yep. Sorry, Maggie.
Oh, that's okay. And I was not ready to speak when you were talking about ODE and data around math. We do a growth target matrix for all the districts. It's fairly new in the last couple years. And so I need to check in with our data people to see where that is and if it's at a time that it can be shared, that we've had enough comparative years. But as soon as that becomes knowledgeable, that we can start kind of measuring that, and that is something new with the integrated application process and school improvement now folded into accountability work that we're doing. We will have that information, but I don't think it's at enough years to be able to track yet, but that is something that will be available to the whole team.
Right.
And we're hearing also that employment department is revamping systems and connectivity, and they're hoping to actually have a better connection between an educational path and an industry work path. And so haven't exactly seen what that is at this point, but that's what we've got. So Maggie, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Okay, great. So I think we're done for today. Great progress. Do please read the report through, comment on the Padlet. I think just the feedback mechanism is really, really helpful in regard to that. And again, Sherry and Beth and others, thank you for actually capturing what you have captured, because we do need to keep that as a part of our conversation. And then let's see, following the meeting and so forth, I don't know, Todd and Sherry and Tom, if you could just hang on for a couple minutes so that we can, I just wanted to clear something with the rest of you. Otherwise, Venkat, again, thank you for your leadership on the Workforce Talent Development Board. I'm hoping this conversation, this report, and so forth will add further fuel to the fact that WTDB should indeed be that central workforce guidance in Oregon. So let's see that working forward. So, all right.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.